What up, folks? This your boy GQ, the Shy Boy, and welcome to another episode of Talk That Mess, the gentleman's perspective on shit that happens. Now, today, I'm doing something a little different than my typical format. I'm actually going to do a video podcast, and I'm also going to have it available for the audio as well. But today, what I'm doing is that I'm going to be sharing an interview that myself and a colleague of mine, a young lady that I admire and respect by the name of Sharice Price, we did a podcast for a newspaper located on the south side of Chicago. The purpose of that interview was to talk about Toastmasters, the Toastmasters experience, the benefits, the features, the advantages of engaging in something like that. I think it's particularly important for people that have a podcast or a platform where you are doing public speaking or you're sharing your opinion to develop your speaking skills and your presentation skills and your formatting skills. So I really wanted to double down on that experience, and I asked the person that moderated the interview, would she mind, and she doesn't mind. So I'm going to be sharing that interview for the viewing pleasure on my YouTube page, but also on the podcast page, which would be audio exclusively, audio version of the podcast. But again, if you want to tune into the visual, you'll have that option in this particular episode as well. Other than that, let's get started. Let's talk that mess.
Listen up. I got something to say. Listen up. I got something to say. Peter Piper pick the pepper, and I drop rhymes, and I'ma talk that shit, cause I back rhymes. So don't sleep, listen up, I got something to say. Rise up, live life, and keep the haters at bay.
Hey.
But I'ma talk that shit.
Hey.
But I'ma talk that shit.
Hey.
But I'ma talk that shit.
Conversations with the Citizen. I'm your host, Catherine, and I am here today with two very special guests. I'm here with Sharice Price and Quentin Brewington from the Greater Englewood Toastmasters International Club. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. So let's just dive right into it and tell me, what is Toastmasters? What are y'all doing in Englewood?
So generally, Toastmasters, Toastmasters International is an international nonprofit that has over 290,000 members worldwide and about just under 15,000 attending clubs in over 122 countries. It was started in 1929 by a gentleman named Ralph Smedley, who was also an Illinois native. But the mission of Toastmasters in itself was to help develop people's ability to communicate as well as their ability to lead in organizations, communities, and in their households at large. Now, we can't argue that Englewood is a great place for communication development as well as leadership development. So here we are today.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, I am someone who grew up in Englewood, as Quentin did as well. I still live in Englewood, and as a business owner, I'm someone that's always looking to develop professionally. So when I heard about Toastmasters, I thought it was a great opportunity for me not only to join, but also to bring it to our community so that we can help other people develop their public speaking skills as well as their leadership development skills.
Absolutely.
And so I want to just get like as many details as possible about how this club operates in Englewood. I'm curious if it has been tailored to serve any specific needs in the Englewood community, what people are experiencing through this club, specifically in Englewood. I want to, just really focus in on what we're doing here.
Well, just to give you a little more background about our particular club, the Englewood Toastmasters Club was founded in 2008 by a professor at Community King College. It was originally designed to help students at Community King develop public speaking skills. It transitioned from 2008 to us being rechartered in 2017 as the Greater Englewood Toastmasters Club. And we wanted to not just have it as an institution place where students can learn, we wanted to take it community-wide. So we rechartered March 2017. We presently operate at 7 District Police Station in the community room, and our mission is to help community residents tell their stories succinctly, right? We, like he mentioned, Greater Englewood is a great community, but we also want to make sure that we are giving our residents, community leaders, the tools that they need to be able to lead better, and us as well as be able to, just develop that public speaking that they need to tell their story.
And so when you charter a Toastmasters club in your community, I'm just curious if they give you kind of a defined way to operate, or do you get to work pretty freely under the Toastmasters umbrella? What's that like?
Well, chartering a Toastmasters club is similar to franchising a business opportunity. So if you bought a McDonald's, of course, there's certain structure that you have to operate within.
Right.
You can't just create and innovate because there's a whole brand and identity and an image to protect. So there's guidelines, but there's also manuals that's provided to newly chartered clubs for the overall club quality as well as the educational development of its members. So all you really need is, well, basically when you first charter a club, the district, which is District 103, will have the area director, which I am the current area director of 6 clubs throughout the south side of Chicago, and I would assign a mentor to that club to work through the first year of getting everything oiled and operating smoothly.
Yeah. So we do have manuals that we work from. It is something that is definitely, you have to follow the rules, but it's also fluid enough to allow us to develop our uniqueness as a club.
Yes.
And so, Quentin, you said that you are the area director. So does that make you, Sharice, the Englewood mentor?
I am actually the president of the
Okay.
Greater Englewood Toastmasters Club. Yes. So I'm the president. He is the area director, so he oversees not just the Greater Englewood Club, but also 5 other clubs on the south side of Chicago.
And so I'm interested to hear more about both of you. Just kind of as individuals, I'm curious to hear, I know you mentioned, Sharice, that you're a business owner, but really for both of you, I would like to know what has motivated you to dive into Toastmasters and developing leaders and encouraging good communication in your communities. Where does that desire come from in you based on your backgrounds and your current situations?
So for me, I started out obtaining a bachelor's degree in business administration, and that kind of piqued my interest in entrepreneurship. But I did not have what I like to say the confidence in speaking publicly to people to bring that idea to fruition. So it wasn't until I graduated with my master's degree that I found out about the Englewood Toastmasters Club, and I was like, wow, this is something interesting. I would love to learn a little bit more about it. So I joined Toastmasters because I really wanted to be able to convey my thoughts. I wanted to be able to get in front of a crowd and be able to speak without fear. Right? A lot of times they say people are really afraid of public speaking. They would rather die than speak publicly. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that. I know for me, I absolutely just did not want to be afraid of that. I wanted to be able to stand before any group of people and confidently be able to share my story as well as convey the thoughts that I want to convey. So that was my reason for joining Toastmasters originally, and it's really interesting because Quentin and I were talking about this over on the way to while we were driving here. I was telling him, I said, when I first joined Toastmasters, I was really only interested in getting my goals met. Having been a member now for a few years, I'm really interested in helping other people develop their gifts. So it's become more altruistic for me. And I am very much interested now in hitting the highest level that you can hit in Toastmasters, which is DTM, and I'm sure Quentin will talk a little bit more about that. But it started out just personal gain, but now I really want to help other people find their voice and be able to tell their stories without fear. That's where it came from for me.
Wow.
What about you, Quentin?
It's a tough act to follow.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, for me, I mean,
I also have a bachelor's degree in business and some master's education. I actually decided not to get a degree because I just didn't feel like it fit my career path. But me, I got bit by the public service or the public speaking bug and things like that when I was a teenager. You know, I was a coach as well as an ambassador for the Special Olympics downstate in Southern Illinois in 1997. But then I also was a Goodwill ambassador in South America when I was in the Navy. So one of the things that really turned me on or piqued my interest about public speaking is that when you operate under a certain level of credibility, it precedes you. So before you even get to where you are, people already have a perception of the quality of the individual or what you stand to bring to the table. So naturally, when I got out and I started going through my educational process and my career field and whatnot, I just saw how the ability to communicate was an asset to get me to where I wanted to go as far as my financial goals as well as the different things that I'm doing now. So, and even in my family. So it's been instrumental. I mean, the ability to communicate, it takes you places, say like in an interview. Like if you're working a job, most of us have to work for a living. So it would behoove you to know how to communicate and articulate your points in an interview about your skills and how you tend to be an asset to an employer. So that right there has definitely kept me on track. And then just for me to get where I want to be, eventually my end goal, you know, I realize I have to help other people get what they want. So that's why I'm being a service to my community, because I know how that creates a butterfly effect to people within the community that my kids are a part of. So you definitely want to kind of add value in that regard. So here I am.
And you said that you oversee, I think you said six
clubs, including my own.
If you don't mind me asking, you know, how far is your reach? Where, and you don't have to tell me exactly.
Well, it's okay because it's all public knowledge.
But right, I'm just curious, you know, what areas you're actually working on, and then we'll go back to talk about people.
So it's great because it's broad, and it really takes you on a trip of Chicago South Side and the influence and the quality of it. So the newest chartered club in our area is the Harper Center Toastmasters, which is a corporate club within the University of Chicago. I was actually at the Bold Literary Talkers Toastmasters Club Monday night hosting a speech contest, and they are in Hyde Park, as well as the Renaissance Toastmasters, which meets in Hyde Park as well, right off Harper Avenue at the, I forget the name of the church. But then we have the Toastmasters Club on the south side, in the South Shore area, that meet in Trinity Hospital. Then we have, I'm going to forget somebody.
You have the one in Bronzeville and then Greater Inglewood Toastmasters.
There you go. So we go from all the way to Bronzeville, Hyde Park. Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah.
So you get a pretty, like you said, you get a pretty good, I don't know, like a broad range of the spectrum of things that are happening south of the Loop.
And people.
Yeah.
And Toastmasters really, just to kind of, you know, along the lines of what Quentin just mentioned about the clubs, Toastmasters really operate in a very organized manner, right? Kind of like with your job. You have someone who is, you know, the supervisor, someone who is kind of like the manager, someone who's like the district manager, right? Like that's how Toastmasters operate. The only difference is it's all volunteer, right?
Yeah.
No one gets paid to do this work, but we definitely develop a lot of skills and make a lot of great connections with some really interesting people.
Absolutely.
So that's been one of the greatest, I think, motivators for me, because not only am I looking to grow, I'm looking to help other people grow, but I'm also looking to really connect with some really cool people. So that's something else I just wanted to add to our greater, you know, not just Greater Inglewood Toastmasters, but to our Toastmasters journey as large.
And how often do you all meet? What is your schedule like? You know, how long are your meetings? What is a typical?
We meet twice per month, the second and fourth Thursday of every month. Our meetings start at 6:15. We're typically done about 8 o'clock, 8:15. And in those meetings, we do speeches, right? Like people get up and they give a speech. And it's in an environment where you have people that are encouraging you, right? Because again, we hear a lot of times that people are afraid to speak in public. So we're just like, okay, you know what? We're just going to jump out and we're just going to do it. So our speeches are tailored around whatever specific or personal goal that you want to attain. Our speeches are tailored around that. If you're someone who has a career in, say, I don't know,
Sales,
there you go. You have a career in sales. You want to be able to be more persuasive. You want to be able to really interact and engage a person. We have speeches that teach you how to become a better salesperson. We have speeches that help you become a better public relations person, right? So whatever your professional or personal goal is, that's what your speeches are tailored around. So that's typically how our clubs run. You're interested in giving a speech, you sign up, put you on the agenda, we encourage you, help mentor you, and just put you out there.
And it's a little deeper. It goes a little deeper than that too, because communication is a two-way street. So just as much as you have an opportunity to learn how to author your voice, to find your voice and your message, we also have a curriculum set up for people to work on their active listening skills. So just as much as you're in front of the room giving a speech, we also have somebody and evaluating people constructively on how to evaluate effectively to listen better so that they can give appropriate feedback, constructive feedback without any malice or just, it's an informed structure that just really helps people learn how to listen for key things, key points. And then we also just to give a quick overview of the functionary roles in every meeting. So we have a grammarian as well that operates as a word master that introduce a new and meaningful word to everyone's vocabulary that we would try to work in through our talks throughout the meeting. But we also have somebody that counts the ahs and the ums and the filler words that we typically use in our daily conversation.
I would not want somebody counting those.
But it's all fun. It's an exercise. It's all mental exercises to make you sharper and stronger and more conscious in how you speak and communicate with other people. But then we also have a timer. So a very important component of speaking is speaking concisely and not running on or belaboring a point. So we have all these different elements succinctly operating throughout the entire meeting, and it's all meat and potatoes for your personal development.
And what's really cool about the timer is a lot of times, I know I've been in church and I've had, just say, politicians come in to give a talk and they say you have 2 minutes to speak. They always go over their time. Toastmasters, we teach that if you have a certain amount of time that you have to speak within that time. And so the purpose of the timer is to keep you on track. If someone says, Catherine, you got 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to speak. We want you to hit those points, those key points within 3 minutes. And so when you give your first speech, it can be a little intimidating. I remember giving my first speech and I was very intimidated. I have all these eyes looking at me and I see people writing down and all of that great stuff. But it definitely helped me to be a better presenter and to be able to just be conscious of I got to hit these points, key points, so that I don't lose people's attention. So it's really cool to have all of those aspects in our meetings.
Yes.
I keep thinking about all of my friends that dropped their public speaking classes in college. They probably would have done a little bit better if it would have been Toastmasters and stuff.
Yeah, we definitely try to make it fun and interactive.
Instead of just cut and dry public speaking.
Yeah.
So I do want to get back to talking about Inglewood. I'm curious to hear from both of you, which I know we've already touched on this quite a bit, but I want to ask you both directly. What kind of an impact is this going to make, or are you hoping to make, on the Inglewood community by offering this opportunity?
Well, I'll say, you heard Sharice talk about how she still lives in the Inglewood community. I live right outside the Inglewood community. But I was actually, when I first came to Toastmasters, I was a part of a different club. And one of my mentors was actually telling me what he was planning to do, to come to this community and try to build something special. So I was like, man, I'm from Inglewood, and I want to follow your lead on that. So I opted to transfer membership so I could be a part of it. I mean, at the beginning, it was probably maybe 3 or 4 of us in the meeting every couple of weeks, and it's like, okay, well, we just have to do what we need to do to be here when people are ready. So one of the statistics that stood out to me is that, like, the average adjusted gross income in Inglewood is like $20-something thousand. And it's like, man, that's below the poverty lines for most people. So how can I be a part of creating something, either from encouraging or helping entrepreneurs learn how to sell their ideas, or helping people that want to be employed sell their self? So that's one of the ways that we can definitely be a part of it for a change, because for me, it really helped me financially to go from, well, just to make more so I can like properly do things. Because I mean, when you have children, I have kids, and healthcare is always a big thing for me. Saving for their education so they don't have to do loans is a big thing for me. So a lot of those different aspects begins with how you are perceived to other people, in which you have to be employed by. So that's one of the ways that we tell people when they come in off the street. I say, hey, look, man, this is your experience. However you want to, whatever you want to focus on, whether it's money, spiritual, or just educational growth to be more of an asset to somebody in the community, well, we're going to focus on that. So just being there to meet people where they are, to help them get to where they want to go.
And our impact, like he mentioned, we started out with 3-4 members. We have grown to a little over 20 members, and we're definitely looking to continue to grow. I think our impact has been, I would hope that our legacy would be a club that invites all of Inglewood to come in and be mentored and help you to attain your personal goals. But I do know of one person in particular that is a member of our club, and she is an Inglewood resident, and she's mentioned to us that what she's learned here has helped her. She just became one of the youngest executive directors of a nonprofit in Inglewood. And she said that she's only at 28 years old, and she said that the work that she's been doing in Greater Inglewood Toastmasters the past 2 years definitely have prepared her and helped her to get to that level. So she's an Inglewood resident, a millennial. She's someone who's a professional, and she's someone who is totally committed to our club. And so we were able to help her reach her professional goals. And so we will hope that our legacy would be that, to help residents just be in a better position to tell their stories, to be able to lead their families, to lead their organizations, to lead themselves, just to be overall better as a professional and personal development. That is what I would hope our legacy will be.
And just remember that butterfly effect, because again, now she's in a position of mentoring newer members as well. So it's a good begets good situation that eventually grows the community from within.
So the last thing I want to talk to you both about is kind of indirectly Toastmasters. I just want to talk about Inglewood as a whole. Yeah. From my perspective, I see so much momentum in the community. I feel like every week, if not every day, I'm getting emails and phone calls about people that are getting active in Inglewood and the greater Inglewood area. I don't live in Inglewood. You both do. I just want to ask you, what's the experience like there? What's the energy like? What is your perspective of the way that the community is growing or changing or not? I'm just curious, how you feel and what you see.
Can I start this?
Go for it.
So look, I just want to briefly introduce this idea that got me excited, but she's going to expound on it more because she was part of developing it. So the Greater Inglewood Toastmasters were invited to help entrepreneurs sell their idea to a group of investors to build businesses recently. And we came in, I think I unintentionally took over like the keynote, the majority of that workshop, but it was kind of cool for me to hear all these business plans and people really take the time to figure out how they want to sell themselves, and for us to be a part of helping them tailor that message in under a certain time frame. And then to see the people that presented into that workshop, that plugged into it, that sidebar with us to really get it down, to see them take home, 5 figures just to build their business within the community and to be a part of that. I mean, I felt pretty good. I mean, that's a moment when you feel like you've starting to see a seed grow that you planted. Mm-hmm. So, but again, she can speak more to it, because I think without her leadership, we wouldn't even have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So just to kind of, I'll touch on that in a second, but in Greater Inglewood, we have something called the Inglewood Quality of Life Plan. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. And it's divided into 5 different categories. And it's a plan that was developed by residents, and it's being executed by residents, first and foremost. So it's divided into 5 areas, which is education, jobs and economic development, public safety, health and wellness, and I know I'm forgetting one. Can't think of the other one. Public safety. I didn't say public safety. Public safety. There's 5. So within each category, we have Inglewood residents leading each of those task forces. The one that I was a part of leading was jobs and economic development, because I am someone who's very interested in promoting economic development. And so what he's speaking of is this plan that we developed called the business plan competition. And it's an opportunity for 10 residents, or people who maybe grew up in Inglewood but moved away, but still have an idea of business that could benefit Inglewood residents. It's an opportunity for them to win a share of $40,000, right? And so they got to the point where they had to speak within a 3 to 5 minute pitch. They had to pitch their idea to these investors, and they had to do it within 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. And so I brought in Inglewood Toastmasters to teach them to do that, to teach them to be impactful, right? Because you have 5 investors sitting in front of you. Mm-hmm. You want to pitch your idea, and you can use this $10,000 that you're going to get as a business owner, right? But it's $5,000, $3,000, whatever, however it was divided up. And so we were able to teach them to do that, and we had a few people, Inglewood business owners, walk away with, two of them won $10,000, another one won $3,000, another one won $5,000. These are all residents. And so being able to be a part of that was absolutely amazing. So that's another impact that I didn't even think to mention, that Greater Inglewood Toastmasters I definitely had on the community. But the just to kind of answer your question, I think that the synergy in Inglewood is one of optimism. We are, very excited to be part of a community that for, a long time I think have gotten written off as a negative, but we are trying to retell our story and create another narrative, and we're just very optimistic about our future, and that's why you see so many residents getting involved with the work of Inglewood now and rebuilding that narrative.
Yeah, well, it's definitely working for everybody. I'm into it. I'm trying to cover it as much as I can. I love being in Inglewood. I love talking to people from Inglewood. I think it's very exciting. Yeah,
we appreciate you, because you definitely come and tell our story, so we appreciate that very much. Yes, very much.
So that's really the extent of what I wanted to hear from you all today. If there's anything else that you would like to share that I didn't ask about. Oh, like perhaps how people could get involved.
Yes. Well, our next meeting is actually tomorrow at 6:15. Oh. We meet at 1438 West 63rd Street. So if someone is interested in stopping by, please stop by. And then we also have a website that Quentin designed, a beautiful website. You want to tell me the name of
the website? The website address is Greater Inglewood Greater Inglewood Toastmasters with an S, clubs with an S.org. Greater Inglewood Toastmastersclubs.org.
And you can also find us on Facebook, Greater Inglewood Toastmasters Club, and all that information will be listed on our site.
Perfect. Well, once again, thank you both for coming in today. Quentin and Cherise. I'm very excited to have learned more about Toastmasters. I'm sure everybody else is as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having
Thanks
us.
for
Very
having
much
us.
appreciate it.
Of course, yeah, and thank you everybody for listening. I'm your host, Catherine. This is Conversations with a Citizen, and we'll be back next week.